So I'd like to explain why addiction is a bonding issue. Where does that come from? So think about it this way. When people first start, say, smoking cigarettes, they often do so because of peer pressure. They want to fit in with their peers. They want acceptance, belonging, and bonds. But then, if they become dependent on smoking, we give them the patch, which doesn't really get to the root of the issue. People aren't usually seeking to smoke, they're seeking to fit in. So when we think about this from an evolutionary standpoint, we as human beings were meant to bond and be a part of a tribe. Because if we weren't, if we were kicked out of that tribe, our chances of surviving were very low. We were not meant to survive on our own. So evolution, like it rewards food and sex, punished to drive us away from being alone. It made loneliness feel very painful. And when we see people who are lonely long term, what we find is they live substantially shorter lives. That being lonely, chronically lonely, is as bad as smoking. And so what we have is the feeling of loneliness being incredibly painful. And so to avoid that, when people can't reconnect with their tribe, they seek to numb out the pain, which further perpetuates the addiction. So what I want to talk about here is a story of the grieving mongoose that makes this whole thing make sense, okay? So mongoose, when they are together, stick together as a mated pair, and they have access in their environment to intoxicating mushrooms. However, when they're bonded as a mated pair, they tend to kind of shun and avoid the hallucinogenic mushrooms. They don't see a need for them. But then researchers were studying this pair of mated mongoose, and a mudslide happened and one of the mongoose died. So what did its partner do, feeling alone and isolated and painful and grieving? It went intoxicating mushroom eating crazy. So what happens here is that in order to numb out the pain of loneliness, when it couldn't reconnect immediately with its tribe, it sought out drugs. Humans are no different, and that's what makes addiction a bonding issue. We are wired to bond for our survival. Loneliness is painful, so when we can't connect with our communities, we want to numb out the pain of loneliness by seeking drug use. The challenge is when we then use medications to taper off of that drug dependency, that's only part of the story. And the bigger, larger part is helping people reconnect with the community.